The email landed while I was in Tokyo, closing a deal that could redefine my career. My phone nearly slipped from my hand when I read the subject line, "The house is sold." I'm Sophia Mitchell, 32, and for the past 10 years I'd been building something my parents never supported, a global tech consulting empire. But none of that mattered now. The house, they'd sold it. Mine. Or at least, it should have been. "We received a fantastic offer, far better than your tiny down payment," my mother's words glared at me from the screen. "The papers are signed. It's official." My hands shook as I read on. The house I'd spent 5 years paying off, the one my parents had kept in their name until I proved myself, was gone. Sold behind my back while I was halfway across the world, in the middle of the most important deal of my career. I stepped out of the meeting, ignoring the worried glances from my Japanese partners, and called home. "Oh, Sophia," my mother cooed, her voice dripping with sweetness that didn't reach her eyes. "Did you see our email? Isn't it wonderful news?" "Mom, that was my house," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "I've been paying the mortgage for 5 years. "Don't be so dramatic," she brushed me off. "Your father and I needed the money for the company. Morris Tech isn't doing as well as we hoped. Besides, you're never home anyway, always flying around with your little consulting business." "Little consulting business?" If only they knew. "Where am I supposed to live?" "You can stay in your old room," Mom chirped. "Just like high school. Remember how cozy that was?" "Cozy? Hardly." I remembered the endless criticism, the comparisons to my older brother Michael, now CFO of our parents' company, the same company struggling enough to justify selling my house. "I have to go, Mom. I'm in the middle of something." I hung up before she could reply. Back in the conference room, the irony was palpable. While my parents liquidated my home to salvage their failing company, I was orchestrating the largest corporate takeover of my career. Morris Tech wasn't just struggling, it was floundering. And I knew exactly why. Over the past year, through a network of shell companies and calculated investments, I had been quietly acquiring their debt, setting the stage for this moment. They thought I was running a modest consulting business. In truth, I was the CEO of Phoenix Global, one of Asia's top tech consulting and acquisition firms, specializing in reviving, or dismantling, companies depending on the need. My phone buzzed again. A message from Michael: "Mom told you about the house." "Sorry, sis, but business is business." Business is business. The same phrase they'd used to justify everything, from refusing to help pay for my college tuition to taking money from my savings without asking. I texted back a simple, "Okay," and turned to Mr. Tanaka, my Japanese partner. "Are the contracts ready?" I asked, speaking in fluent Japanese, a skill my parents never knew I had. He nodded, sliding a folder toward me. "Everything is set, Mitchell-san. Morris Tech won't see it coming." I signed the final documents, sealing not just this deal, but my parents' fate. In under 2 months, I would hold the majority stake in Morris Tech, the company they had valued above my education, my security, and now my home. It would all be mine. "Book me a flight home," I instructed my assistant. "It's time to pay my parents a visit." The following weeks blurred into a whirlwind of legal filings and strategic planning. I settled into a luxury hotel suite, politely declining my mother's repeated invitations to come home. Calls went unanswered, emails unopened. Let them assume I was stewing over the house. Let them think I was hiding behind my little consulting business. They had no idea what was coming. On the morning it all clicked into place, I stood before the mirror, adjusting my blazer. The reflection staring back wasn't the overlooked daughter of their past, it was a CEO, formidable and unstoppable. Today, everyone would see it. I picked up my briefcase, stuffed with the documents that would append everything, and made my way to Morris Tech headquarters. It was time to show my parents what their unsuccessful daughter had truly become. Walking through the building, memories of my childhood visits surfaced, the way my father and brother strutted around like royalty, my mother trailing behind with practiced charm. The security guard gave me a nod. He was already on Phoenix Global's payroll, just like so many other key employees. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt interminable. Each passing floor reminded me of years of dismissal, subtle undermining, and the ultimate betrayal, the house. All roads had led to this moment. As the doors opened, my mother's laugh floated down the hall. She was likely in the conference room, where the board debated the identity of their mysterious new majority shareholder. I inhaled deeply and squared my shoulders. Time for the real Sophia Mitchell to make her entrance. Voices drifted from the conference room, my father's authoritative tone, Michael's futile attempts at reassurance, my mother's nervous chuckle. "This has to be some mistake," my father said. "No anonymous company can just acquire controlling interest in Morris Tech. We built this company." "Dad, I've verified everything," Michael replied. "Phoenix Global now owns 51% of our shares, and most of our debt. We need to meet their CEO today." "Well, whoever they are, we'll manage," my mother added, masking her unease. I chose that moment to step through the conference room door. Every eye snapped toward me. My father's expression darkened. "Sophia, this is a private meeting. Whatever drama you're stirring about the house can wait." I smiled and placed my briefcase on the table. "Actually, I'm right on schedule. The CEO of Phoenix Global is expected here at 10 a.m. My brother glanced at his watch, confused. "Yes, but they haven't arrived yet." "On the contrary," I said, opening my briefcase, "she has." I laid out the contracts and financial documents neatly on the table. "I'm here. I am the CEO of Phoenix Global." The room fell into stunned silence. My mother's champagne flute slipped from her hand, shattering across the floor. My father went pale, as if the blood had drained from his face. "That's impossible," Michael stammered. "You run a small consulting firm." "You're not, you can't be." "Can't be what, Michael?" I interrupted. "Successful? A CEO? Too much of a disappointment to build something greater than Morris Tech." I spread the papers across the table. "I think you'll find everything in order. My company now holds a controlling stake in Morris Tech." My father lunged for the documents, hands trembling. "This has to be a joke. Like the joke of selling my house without asking?" I said calmly. "Or borrowing from my college fund without consent? Or the ultimate joke, telling everyone I was a failure while quietly building a global empire?" "We needed the money for the company," my mother mumbled, faltering. "We were preserving our legacy." "Your legacy?" I laughed, voice sharp as glass. "Take a good look, Mom. Your legacy? It's mine now. Phoenix Global specializes in turning failing companies around, and Morris Tech? It's been floundering for years. You can't do this to us." My father's voice cracked. "We're your parents." "Business is business," I said, echoing their own favorite mantra. "Sound familiar?" I turned to the board members, many of whom were barely hiding their smirks. They'd endured my family's mismanagement for years. "Effective immediately, there will be changes. Michael, you're no longer CFO. Dad, you're stepping down as CEO. Mom, your role as VP of Public Relations has ended. You're firing us?" Michael's face went pale. "Your family," I said, thinking of every slight, every stolen opportunity, every time they'd chosen the company over me. "No, I'm not firing you. I'm giving you the exact same chance you gave me, to start from the bottom. Michael, there's an entry-level accounting position open. Dad, we need someone in sales. Mom, I hear the reception desk has an opening." Tears streamed down my mother's face. My father's color shifted from white to purple. "Or," I continued, "you can clear out your desks by the end of today. Your choice, ungrateful as you are." My father began to protest, but I cut him off sharply. "Careful, Dad. Remember who you're speaking to. I'm no longer that little girl, you're talking to your boss. I gathered my papers and started toward the door, then paused. Oh, and about my house, the one you sold? I bought the company that purchased it. By tomorrow, the deed will be in my name. The expressions on their faces were priceless. Years of belittling me, treating me like a failure, minimizing my accomplishments, all of it had led to this exact moment. Board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Be on time. Those of you still employed, I smiled at my family. The rest can collect your personal belongings from security. As I walked out, my heels clicking on the marble floor, I heard my mother's sobs, my father's furious shouts, and my brother's stunned silence. For the first time, it didn't matter. I had built what they never believed I could. I had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. Most importantly, I had finally shown them who I really was, not the disappointment they'd labeled me, but the powerhouse I had become. My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Tanaka in Tokyo. Congratulations, Mitchell-san. How did it go? I smiled, stepping into the elevator. Better than expected. Time to rebuild Morris Tech, my way. The doors closed on the life I'd known, opening onto a future where I was no longer defined by their expectations. They had always chosen the company over me. Now they could watch as I transformed it into something they never could. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't just success, it's revealing to those who doubted you what they failed to see. The next morning, I sat in my father's former office, now mine, scanning the local business headlines. The top story made me grin. Phoenix Global acquires Morris Tech, unknown CEO reveals identity in stunning takeover. Unknown CEO. If only they knew how long I'd been planning this, quietly building my empire while they dismissed me. Being underestimated? That's the perfect cover for a strike when they least expect it. I picked up my phone and called my realtor. Yes, I want to list my parents' house. The one they sold? Don't worry, I own it now. Sometimes karma shows up as the daughter they never believed in. And sometimes, she comes with a corporate takeover they never saw coming.